A very common thing that happens when people first come to human design is that they feel that at least some part of their design, and sometimes all of it, doesn't necessarily resonate. So you have people who are projectors and they feel like that's not them at all, or they do feel like a projector, but they don't resonate with their profile, for example. And it's so ironic because human design is the science of getting out of your mind and into this mystical, mechanical flow that your body innately has and is trying to lead you towards. But we can't get there using the mind. And so it's the mind that has all these ideas about what we are. We have all this conditioning of what we're like and who we are and what our traits are based on what we've been praised for, what has been cultivated in us, maybe for other people's benefits or maybe from their own conditioning. So, usually, when people come to me and say, I don't feel like this is part of my design, it's almost like they're expecting for me to tell them, no, it is. And then there's no amount of me saying it is that is going to justify that or quell that sort of quench of that mental dissonance that we're having. And that's why it's called the human design experiment, because it's only the more and more that you just are willing to, even for a day, let go of the things you think you are and embrace that you might be your design by starting to live according to it, using your strategy and your authority, that you see how very true it is. And this, by the way, applies to even people like me who resonated so much with, I'd say, 80% of my design straight away. I thought I knew what those traits and qualities look like, and I continue to be surprised by how very much they apply and how literal they really are. I was telling you the other day, like, I can't get over the fact that everything that is happening for me right now keeps on coming because I'm invited, and it's absolutely crazy. So I want to just address the people who say they don't resonate with their design, because it's definitely not that the calculation is wrong. It's not that I've miscalculated it. It's not that you have, as long as you've put in your right birth time, you haven't gotten it wrong by accident, because the software is always going to spit out exactly what your design says you are. So the degree to which you feel like you don't resonate with that is just the degree to which your persona is keeping you in a hold. And really the work there is to just be brave enough to try and see that maybe there is more magic in you looking a different way, with you having a different persona or a different way that you show up in the world, and that actually you could feel so much better being that way. For example, one of the things that I didn't like about my design was that it suggests that I'm more creative than I am structured. And I was always brought up, because I was quite an intellectual kid, I was always associating being intellectual with being structured. And I think that's one of the things we do really often is we tie different traits together, where we think that if I'm organized, it must mean I'm consistent. Or if I'm creative, it must mean I'm a floozy. If I am strategic, it must mean I'm bossy or that I'm masculine. The masculine feminine one really gets me too, because we definitely associate certain traits with that. So one of the things that really got me is when I realized I wasn't supposed to be, or I wasn't designed to be, that structured. And I kind of, because I was quite a smart kid, I sort of am a porous child and a very sensitive child who learned how to sort of, perform a very obvious eldest child responsible thing. I was very good at taking on that costume. And so it's something that I thought I was my entire life. And I was relatively, quote unquote, good at it, right? So just because you're well trained to be good at it, it doesn't mean you're inherently supposed to be doing it or inherently supposed to be living that way. And so I had to do a lot of deconditioning, because I always saw myself as more of a business person because I had a high intellect, and I associated those two things together. And actually learning that I'm much more sort of creative. And you know this, Taylor, now I spend so much time on writing the words, saying the words, choosing the colors, choosing the fonts, doing design. Um, and, Jane, who also works with us, funny enough, had to do the opposite because she had positive conditioning around creative people. She grew up in a family where creatives were the kind of cool ones, and that was the way that you needed to be. And so we almost swapped places because she then realized that actually she kind of loves admin and she kind of loves solving problems and she gets a high from the challenge of that. And so, in a way, that is like a mini ego death that you have to face that, oh my gosh, what are all the things I associate with being a creative that are negative? And can I put those aside and see that I can be those things in a way that is integrated, that is strong, that feels good to me, that still gets things done, that is lovable, all the things that we think we associate with the qualities that our design suggests that we maybe have fear over being. So it's also an amazing way to look at where you have shadow and judgment over certain human traits. Because if there are certain suggestions of the way you are in your chart and they're sort of quote unquote annoying you or triggering you, that's a great way to start looking at what are the, I call it runging, what are the qualities in humans that I put above and below things, in my mind, is it better to be green rather than blue? Is it better to be a singer rather than an actor? All those sorts of things. Is it better to love beauty? There's a lot of people in this world who inherently one of their traits is to be curative about what's beautiful, right? Or in your incarnation cross, it can be all about making beauty in this world. Or if you have outer vision as your strongest sense, there's so many people who think that's shallow because it's beauty and a love of beauty and curating beauty. But we are aesthetes, all of us on this human on this planet. We come here to gravitate towards beauty because, of course, if we're going to come here and taste all the senses, experiencing visual, you know, pleasantry and enjoyment and color and life and things that are pleasing to us is something that the universe wants us to do. And there are some people who are so gifted at that. And that's what they gift to the world. Because, by the way, everything is a spiritual calling. Imagine someone who is here to make beautiful spaces. The difference when you wake up in a space that makes you feel like you, how much more conducive that is for you to feel like you are in touch with yourself, that you feel connected to your higher essence. Environment brings out certain vibes in you. So if you had an environment that brought out the best in you, how much better would it be for you to be in your gifts? So why would you deprive other people of that gift if that is your gift? The challenge, of course, is to not use it to be shallow and lower consciousness, but that is inherent. That is something that lies in every single gift, right? There are negative ways that every single gift can look, but every single gift is neither good nor bad. It's just all about how much you express it, the degree to which you express it, and the type of consciousness you put into it when you do share it. So are you doing it? And you can feel the difference. When people are making something beautiful and you feel that energy in something that was like made on purpose and made with so much love, and you feel the difference in food that tastes like that way. And when everything is intentional and you feel amazing that someone has put so much care into something, because really what we're exchanging here on this planet is care, because what we're all here for ultimately is love, right? To enjoy and to give and receive love. So that is love that is given through the making of a handmade table. That is love that is given through a factory that makes 1,000 tables. That is love that is given through flower arranging and bird watching and all of these things. And so really what human design underneath it all is just showing you how you are meant to express your divinity, which is your love in this world. Therefore, there is nothing that is negative here.
I think too, when we feel like we're not resonating with our design, we think about conditioning sometimes as just this negative thing where it's like, oh, the world told me I was supposed to be different. Oh, I had like this bad thing that got put on me. But sometimes conditioning comes from a really loving place where, for example, I really admire my mom a lot. So there's a lot of traits in her that I took on as a kid that I've had to learn are not me. And so when I first learned about human design, I actually was behaving more like my mother's design. Um, but it was a relief to kind of hear that I could be different. One of the ones that comes to mind recently that is so drastically different is My mom is not really a nurturing person, which I didn't really make that association as a kid. I've never thought, oh, my mom's not a nurturing mom. If anything, I felt like very cared for by her, but she cares for us in a way that's very different than what you would associate with the word nurturing. So I have the ability to nurture and care in my chart. One of the gifts that I have is that. So I never really had a resonance with that feeling because I didn't know what that looked like in real life. Someone actually told me a story recently about my mom when we were growing up that she was so in quotes unnurturing that when she would put us to bed at night, her friend told her, oh, I rub my kids back this certain amount of times and they slowly fall asleep. And then my mom walks into our room and she's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then she like walks out. She's like, you got it. So that wasn't present in my life, but that's something that I've learned to tap into my version of nurturing and learn that I'm actually much more nurturing in the way that we associate that word, and that it's totally okay to tap into that, even though that's so different than the way that my mom expressed loving people.
And that's another association we make, that care is nurture. And there's so many people, I think, who are trying to show their love with acts of service or physical touch, where actually their love is helping you organize yourself better, or getting you a car or driving you somewhere. There's so many different, that's the 5 love languages. But it's also, if you look at your strongest sense, it tells you a lot about the physical medium through which you're supposed to exchange love with the world. So for example, if you are touch, you are the person who's going to put the blanket on somebody. Or if you are in a vision, you are somebody who, I think about a person who's very close to me, who's in a vision, who's always giving me this sort of the literal vision of how things could look. And that's how they give advice. Or if you are out of vision, you do make things more beautiful, like I said. So every single type of design has the ability to be strong, to be loving, to be powerful. And you have the most chance of being that way by embracing your design. And it has the most chance of being received, because a lot of us who have learned to be chameleons or people pleasers can kind of cosplay as things that we're not and still get kind of self rewarding from that. But actually, people are energy readers, and now more than ever. And so they can kind of sense when you're doing something really nice, but it's not landing in the exact same way as someone who it comes to naturally. And I think another weird thing about that is that in a weird way, we praise people when it's like they've made more effort to be something they're not, because we think, oh well, I've taught myself to be something. And of course you want to teach yourself to be more open-hearted, to be more selfless, to share more, all of those things, but not at the cost of swimming upstream, let's say. So I think it's very, very powerful to say, is there a part of me that doesn't resonate with this because I'm holding on to the opposite for a reason? And can I give myself grace for feeling attached to it because it's a part that I think is going to make me strong or survive or like myself, or I've always been used to being this way? And when you're ready to just dip your toe in other ways of being. And even if you're, you know, let's say you read that you are, I don't know, meant to tell stories or listen to stories, and that's terrifying to you for some reason. It definitely is to someone out there. And to everyone else, it sounds ridiculous, but just like what's terrifying to you would sound easy to somebody else. So that shows you. But even if you're not going to then actively try it on for size tomorrow, you will get there without even trying, and you will actually immediately enjoy and like it, to your own surprise, but also your delight, when you just do your strategy and authority. So I think a lot of times what holds people back from even embracing living in their design is they get caught up in all the descriptions of how they have to be, and then they think they have to be it. And that's the whole ruse with human design. You don't have to stop being it. You literally have to either respond, inform, be invited, or wait to be guided by the universe, depending on what your energy type is. Every energy type has a strategy of how they make things happen in this world. So if you just do that, with every micro thing in your day or everything that feels easy for you to apply that to, and you just listen to your authority when you are making decisions, whether that's your emotions, your gut, your spleen, ego, G center, mind, mental authority, I should say, which is not the same as the mind, or the outer authority for reflectors. If you just do those things, the order in which the traits will unfurl and reveal themselves to you will happen without you needing to micromanage it. And you will catch yourself being those things and being seen as those things without necessarily having to directly attack all the old ways that you were. And in a way, that is an ego death, but it's also one that has a shiny, a reward to it, which is kind of nice. And someone asked me the other day, can you visualize as a projector if you want to manifest things? And I think this is an important thing to bring up, because a lot of the times the reason why we start getting into modalities like this is because we want to create lives that we want, that we dream of. And so manifest it's become a very umbrella term to me. And I think it's important to break it down here, because anybody can manifest things. So, for example, the other day, and you do this all the time, Taylor, I manifested an upgrade in my flight, right? But that's very, very different than manifesting whatever your service is in the world. I think you can manifest experiences, and I think you can manifest them in many different ways. I think the more aligned you are, i.e., living your mystical mechanics of your human design, the universe communicates to you more clearly because you communicate to it more clearly. So you're not asking for a ton of things that you don't really want. And you're asking for things when they just kind of naturally occur to you without you planning and micromanaging and clinging and needing and whatever. But I think that when it comes to whatever your service is in the world, whatever you're here to share, you have to do it. You can't manifest it, in the sense that, yes, sure, you can say I manifested my own business, or I manifested my, my coaching career or my healing thing, whatever it is. But ultimately, that's not where you're supposed to receive delightful manifestations. That is where you actually receive the greatest gift of all, which is channeling the light in the creator in its unique expression through you to others. So actually, what's important, and this could be a whole other topic about what counts as manifestation and all the different branches of it, but you have to understand that becoming the real you is the ultimate manifestation. And that is not, therefore, because it is the ultimate manifestation, you have to work for it, because it is the work of this lifetime. It's something you have to be actively engaging in. So that's not things like cute little smiles from the universe that's going to drop on your path, like a flight upgrade or a chocolate cake or some roses or 1111 sign, whatever it is. Like, those are little sort of winks that are casual, that don't really necessarily contribute to your soul's becoming in this world. So I think it's very important in this subject, when we talk about why even try to embrace what your design says you are, is because yes, you want to get your dream life, but yes, there is a specific type of unbecoming of all the things you've been told you had to be, which is why you're not resonating with your design in order to become your real self, from which what you will find is you will have manifestations, i.e., physical world, real life expressions of incredible things, but you made them happen by the becoming. They weren't these cute, sweet, unrelated things that just kind of plop on, which all of us can do and are entitled to and become better at when they are things that we're asking for authentically. So I know a lot of people, they get high on their own supply. Like, for example, me, if I'd done that for the first time, or when I did, quote unquote, have a little cute manifestation for the first time, I was like, what else do I want to do it on? Oh my gosh. And then you get in your head, and then it's not natural, and then it's not in the moment, and then it's not real. And then you're greedy, right? And then you're doing it from ego because you want to prove how great you are and how spiritual you are and how much more powerful than other people you are. Whereas when it's the things you want lightly come easily, it's just that thing that occurs to you in the moment. Like someone I know was like, oh, I know this grill is out of stock, but I really need one. Let me just go see if it's in the store. And sure enough, they had one. But she's not doing that every single day just because she's high off her own supply. So the whole point about not resonating with your design is it's a good thing because it's showing you what you need to let go of. And the cost of becoming your real self is in that painful, sometimes difficult, sometimes ego slaying unbecoming of the things that you tell yourself you are or that you have to be.
There's also a layer of not relating to your design that could possibly have to do with misinterpretation of words, because we've said this a million times, like words are so limiting, and you do your best to be able to communicate these energies in as clear of a way as possible. But of course, I associate the meaning of the word nurturing completely differently than you associate the meaning of the word nurturing. So we could read something in our chart and be like, I don't do that. But that's why it's so important. What you're saying is to not read your chart and think, okay, well, then this must be how I'm supposed to behave. That in and of
Mm-hmm.
itself is a bit of conditioning because you're going based off of your interpretation of the words. But when you do your strategy and authority, like those gifts are meant to be pulled out of you. You're not supposed to like do your gifts on the world. You're supposed to be in life and allow those gifts to pour out of you. And then you'll observe yourself and you'll be like, oh, that's what nurturing is. Oh,
Yes.
that's what explaining is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's also another thing about word association is you would imagine explaining looks like this, and this because you've seen a limited number of examples about what that looks like, but you've never seen your example yet. You don't know how that iterates in you. And so instead of again trying to decide what that looks like with your mind or trying to concoct your version of it, just let it reveal itself to you.
And to like the biggest thing I think I've even learned from human design is how intricately different we are. So even someone that has the same gift as me in them, the layers of all the ingredients that are inside of them make that so different than it is inside of me. We're like basically you could bake a cake and you have all these different ingredients, but the combination that you use to make a cake is going to make each of the cakes completely taste differently. So we have to also open our minds to the fact that we have no idea. You've said this before, like we have no idea what these gifts can look like because we've never experienced and allowed the very, micro differences in them come out of us.
Exactly. And that's the hardest truth to face for all human beings about life in general. We have no idea. What if we have no idea? What if this is an unknown? But it is an unknown. So you can either pretend like it isn't, or you can say, oh, it's unknown. This whole thing is a mystery. And I know that there's something bigger than me at play here that is benevolent. So I know it's going to work out well. And I know that I can use any moment of this unknownness as the next exact thing that I need to realize that I can turn whatever is brought to me into something great because I have that ability in me. It is latent right now. Maybe it's dormant, but let me see if I can pull it out. Let me see if I can practice it. Let me see, even if I feel weak, even if I feel helpless, it's in there somewhere and I can just practice it and practice it and practice it. And honestly, you still have doubts every second of the way, every step, no matter what levels you go, because every time you reach one level, you get stretched to the next and it comes back again. And you say, am I helpless? Can I do this? Am I weak? This is unknown. This is scary. And the mind goes, hey, you could come back to me. And I'm the voice of control and knowing everything and give you that temporary high of not feeling that discomfort. Or you can step through and into the discomfort and create something better out of it. And that is wider than all of human design anyway, which is that life is an unknown, whether we like to face it or not. So we may as well do the real safety work, which is be the known thing about our lives, right? Know that we can have our own back. Know that we can stand up when things get difficult and turn the discomfort into something. Know that we can try our best to handle whatever comes our way. Know that we can be there for ourselves emotionally and just keep doing it more and more and more. And that's really the invitation behind human design, is that can you jump into this wider viewpoint of life where you just have two tools in your toolbox, and one is your inherent self and the other one is your consciousness. And can you put them to work where the rubber meets the road in the physical world by using your strategy and authority, and do your part in advancing the human journey that we all share, that is just the divine wanting to show itself that it could come into this world, this form, and re-become itself through all of these little pushes and nudges and kinks and challenges and colors and smells and sounds and hard things and good things and bad things, through all of that that's shaping this zero back to the 100 that it started off as. And that's really what we do. But of course, we couldn't physically come here if everything was known. And so every time we do try to act like everything is known, we literally are moving in the opposite direction of our alignment, because we are denying the mysticism of life. We are saying that there is something else, a bigger force, which is control, at play, that is bigger than mysticism. And in doing so, we don't invite the mystical forces to get to work, because ultimately the divine honors our free will. That's part of the game. That's part of the whole arriving back to consciousness. So it says, listen, if you're going to choose control, I have to let you, right? That's part of your process. Let's support you in showing that that's a reality, because then it's only by your free will that you earn the choosing of the mysticism at some point, and then it will reflect back to you the mysticism. So ultimately, ironically, choosing the mystical, the unknown, is the safer part, because you are more supported by the universe when you move through life as if there is a mysticism, and that's when the mysticism can show up from you. Like, there is a benevolent creator, so the benevolent creator can show up from you for you. So it's a good thing that you hate certain parts of your design, and I would encourage you to accept that, not necessarily force yourself to become that tomorrow, and just say, you know what, if none of this is true, listen, you can bargain with the universe. Hey, I'm going to try this thing because it resonates with me just enough for me to be curious. I'm going to listen to my strategy, listen to my authority for whatever, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months. But in doing so, I need you to show me that this ish works. And you sure as hell better come for me, come through me. Show up, do your part. I'm going to do mine, you do yours. And talk to your creator that way and say, if you want me to be like this, I'm going to give this a go. And help me see how real it is. Like, genuinely help me see. I want to be able to see this. And you'll be surprised and you'll be shocked at what comes through. And you know, Taylor, we talk about this all the time. We're still shocked. I'm still shocked all the freaking time by how much and how literal this is, and how it's so not do this and you'll get that. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, it was my emotional authority. Oh my gosh, yes, I didn't even realize that this is the way it was supposed to happen. And just by cutting all the spiritual fluff and just doing the practice, it's a daily practice that is so annoyingly simple. You just have to grasp those two things and put them into action, and you will see the craziest stuff unfold. And I will tell you, I would go to lectures when I was 20 years old and hear people say, you know, when you surrender to the universe, life comes through for you and you'll be surprised. And I literally was the person who felt like somehow I got left out of the production line, because I'm never going to be someone who feels that way. I'm never going to be someone who feels the universe come through for me. The universe doesn't come through for me. And I will tell you that if you do ever feel that way, it's just because you're going to the next level. and you will always feel that doubt before you go to your next level, but also that everybody has to start their journey feeling like they don't know that help and that guidance and that support, because you have to start off without it to then be so amazed by the fact that you choose to experience it and then you do. So it's nothing to do with you being less worthy or less capable than anyone else. It's just about the willingness to have it. And what is so incredible about human design is it is the custom made manual and how you specifically get yours, how you align and operate so that it can show up in you. And that is why it's so incredible, because we all experience the guidance and the mysticism and the support in such different ways depending on how our souls are meant to operate. So when you do life according to your soul rather than your surface, that's when your insides and your outsides match. You advertise yourself to the universe correctly, right? The correct thing is on your billboard, and then it's almost like the taxi light goes on in you, and then the universe goes, oh, look, okay, that means this person wants us to come through for her or him. Let's do our thing. And it's all around you already, circling, waiting to come in and help you. And you literally just have to let it flood in when you make those decisions.